Hello everyone, and welcome back to True Crime Mysteries. Today we have our March Crimes of the Month. In our Crimes of the Month series, we cover updates from previous cases, notable crimes covered in the news, and anything crime-related that happens this month. This month, I am happy to thank our sponsor for today's video, Established Titles. Established Titles is a really fun project that is based on a historic custom where landowners are referred to as lairds or lords and ladies. They allow people to buy small plots of land in Scotland, which gives them the opportunity of calling themselves a lord or lady. With each plot of land, Established Title also plants a tree, which is helping to combat global deforestation, making it a fun and unique way to preserve the picturesque woodlands and biodiversity of Scotland. Title packs give you at least 1 square foot of dedicated land on a private estate in Ardley, Aberdeenshire, Scotland, and an official certificate with a crest. Your certificate features a unique plot number with which you can see the exact location of your land. They work with global charities One Tree Planted and Trees for the Future to support global reforestation efforts. You can use your new title on plane tickets, credit cards, Costco memberships, anything that accepts a prefix. You can even use it on dating profiles to really impress your next date. They have a few different options, you can get different size plots, and they have packages for couples as well. Maybe a fun gift for anyone in your life that really loves Outlander? Established Titles makes a great last minute gift, and you're in luck because they are running a big sale right now, and if you use the code TCM10, you get an additional 10% off. Go to establishedtitles.com/truecrimemysteries to get your gifts now. Thank you again for sponsoring this video, and with that being said, let's get into it. It was May 2013 when Sarah Padinsky stood trial for her involvement in a £1 billion mobile phone tax scam in the UK. Sarah had been recruited as part of an 18-person criminal ring that involved purchasing cell phones without VAT, value-added tax, and reselling them without paying the taxes. It had been Sarah's job within the operation to launder the money, and it was estimated to have totaled around £1 billion, or approximately $1.3 billion in American dollars. Right before the conclusion of her trial, Sarah Padinsky took off and went on the run for nearly a decade before her recapture this month. She had been at the top and only woman on the UK's most wanted list for nearly the entire duration of her time on the run. Padinsky had been born and raised in Falford, near York in the UK, but had close family connections in Spain. She was also fluent in Spanish and had primary residence in Spain during her trial, so it didn't come as a shock in 2015 when authorities discovered her husband was bringing her supplies in Oliveira, Spain. She was reported to have rarely left her hideout, and her husband or family members had been supporting her while she evaded authorities. In 2015, an extensive operation had been undertaken to recapture Padinsky, but something had tipped her off and she managed to escape. In 2017, the ringleader of the operation, Jeffrey Johnson, was arrested in Dubai and was extradited back to the UK to serve his 24 sentence for his crime. Eventually, Padinsky was the final person in the operation to still be on the run. The other people either turned themselves in or had been captured. After 2015, she cut off all ties with her family and went even deeper into hiding. It was estimated that in 2013, she may have had at least £2.4 million in cash with her that she had been required to relinquish to the courts. When her father passed in 2020, there had been renewed hopes that she might resurface, but she did not. In February 2022, a resident in Santa Barbara, Spain, reported the sighting of a woman who matched Padinsky's description. A task force that specializes in recapturing wanted fugitives called the Civil Guard Central Operative Units Fugitive Task Force was called in to carry out the arrest. They found the woman living in an apartment and followed her for several weeks. Now 47, Padinsky, either out of necessity or the belief that she wasn't actively being searched for, had relaxed some of her previous methods and seemed to be living a relatively normal life. Santa Barbara was a small village of around 4,000 people, and perhaps she felt safe to resume a normal life. They arrested her on March 1st while walking her 2 dogs, and she is being held in prison while she waits extradition back to the UK. Just on her original conviction alone, she faces 20 years in prison, though her time on the run has likely added more time to her sentence. The NCA International Deputy Director Tom Dowdle said about the arrest, "This should serve as a warning to others on our most wanted list. We will not rest until you are captured, no matter how long it takes."
Karen Valek says it was Tuesday afternoon when she heard her doorbell ring repeatedly.
I open the door and she hands me this dog collar and I go, "Is your dog loose?" She said, "No, they shocked me. And she put up her neck and I saw the 2 marks from the dog collar.
Karen Valek was sitting in her Stratford, New Jersey home on March 1st when she heard several loud knocks on her door. She opened it and was shocked to see a little girl on her doorstep. She recognized the 13-year-old, whose name has been withheld from the media due to her age, as her neighbor's child. The girl begged for help and handed her a shock collar meant for large dogs. Karen brought the girl into her home while her husband called 911.
I was horrified. My husband and I haven't been able to sleep for days on end. What can we do for this poor little girl?
The girl had marks on her neck from the shock collar, and when asked what happened, revealed that she was made to wear the collar when she was bad by her parental guardian. She also revealed several other instances of abuse, such as being deprived of food and clothing, as well as being duct taped in the basement for hours. The girl was taken to the hospital where she was immediately removed from custody of Kelly Menig. The exact relationship has not been disclosed to protect the identity of the child. Kelly Menig was arrested along with her 2 adult daughters, Rachel and Rebecca Menig. Kelly's father also lived in the home, and when being questioned by police, confirmed allegations made by the child. The girl only weighed 63 pounds and said that the abuse started in 2018 when she was 9 years old. She told law enforcement she had been abused by all 3 women in the house and had even been forced to shoplift for the women.
You can hear it in the winter through the windows, always yelling and fighting.
And while at the hospital, she had several marks on her neck consistent with wearing a shock collar for extended periods of time. The little girl is with the foster family now and has since returned to school. All 3 women have denied allegations of abuse. They are all being held in the Camden County Jail while they await trial. They face charges of aggravated assault, child abuse, and neglect. It was on March 2nd when friends of 57-year-old Cynthia Cole reported her missing. Normally active on social media, friends became concerned when her feed abruptly stopped. She lived alone, and what initially was a welfare check turned into a missing person investigation. She had been last seen attending an outdoor concert in Jensen Beach on February 24th. She had attended the event with a group of friends who saw her leave in her 2015 Jeep Cherokee early on in the evening. When officers arrived at her house, there was no signs of forced entry or anything amiss in the home. Her cell phone was found in the home with a dead battery. The only thing that seemed to be missing was her Jeep Cherokee, but it was later recovered abandoned on the highway. Cynthia had a doorbell camera, and when officers pulled the footage, they saw something unusual. Cynthia returned home a little bit after 8 p.m., and on the doorbell camera, they saw a man leaving her residence half an hour after she got home, and the man took her car. On the cell phone, they found a contact that matched the physical description of the unknown man from the doorbell camera, 34-year-old Keoki Hilo Demick. Demick had a criminal history. In fact, he was required to register as a sex offender. He had been convicted in 2004 for burglary and assault of a minor, and the victim was 12. For several years, Demick had worked for Cynthia on her property as a handyman. Text messages between the two showed conversations about the work he was to do, as well as Cash App transactions. When Demick had been brought in for questioning, investigators had caught him in several lies about the night Cynthia went missing. Initially, he told law enforcement he didn't know her, and then he said he did know her and that he only did odd jobs here and there. When asked if he'd gone to her house that night, he said no, and initially claimed to have not been at the house in days. He also was caught in several lies about his cell phone. Officers asked him to hand it over for the investigation, and he said it was lost. Cynthia's car had been abandoned a mile from his home, and when asked about that, he first said he had no idea about the car. When shown surveillance footage clearly showing him at the house, he claimed he'd gone by to collect money owed. He first said he walked home after that, and then he later said Miss Cole had asked him to drive her car. The interrogation had done its job, dismantling every lie that Demich attempted. Officers continued the investigation, and in the search of the backyard, they discovered something unusual about the cover of the property's septic tank. Further inspection prompted the discovery of Cynthia Cole's body.
57-year-old Cynthia Cole was the victim of a homicide. She had blunt trauma to her head and abdomen. The medical examiner says Cole was also the victim of manual strangulation and asphyxia.
The medical examiner cannot rule out that our victim was actually alive when she was placed into that septic tank. He's doing microscopic evidence now. He submitted it for evaluation, so we'll know definitively if she was alive when she was placed into that septic tank.
Demich was arrested on March 4th. Officers have hypothesized, based on the evidence, that he had gone into the home around 7 p.m. that night and waited until Cynthia came home. They estimated that she died within 30 minutes of coming home, and he had already prepared the septic tank as storage for her body. No specific motive for the crime has been released. It is also believed that she wasn't aware of Demich's criminal history or that he was a registered sex offender. Demich is being held on a $750,000 bond while he awaits trial. It was 8:30 p.m. on March 10th in Manhattan when Barbara Gustern stepped out of her building. She was heading out to see one of her students perform. The 86-year-old grandmother was a beloved vocal coach to generations of Broadway stars and was still very active in the musical community. She was just about to hail a cab when a woman walked past her, shoved her to the ground, and swore at her. It had been a violent shove, and Miss Gustern hit her head hard on the concrete. A person who witnessed the attack from inside the building, as well as a passing cyclist, helped Miss Gustern back into the building. She had a severe head wound that was bleeding profusely, but she maintained consciousness. Police and an ambulance arrived within minutes, and Miss Gustern was able to give a brief description of her attacker, who she didn't know. She was taken to the hospital, but days later, unfortunately, died of her injuries from the fall. The death had been a shock to those who knew her. Many described her as a tough cookie who still exercised daily and was seen often briskly walking around the neighborhood. The attacker was not found that evening, but officers were able to find surveillance footage and were able to get a clear picture of what she looked like. Officers later determined that the woman had stuck around, waiting nearby for nearly 20 minutes while she watched the older woman get taken away in an ambulance before heading to the subway. Photos and videos of the suspect were released to the media, and a tip from the public brought investigators to Long Island and gave them a name: Lauren Pazienza, a 26-year-old woman who worked as a designer in Manhattan. 2 weeks after the attack, she surrendered to law enforcement with her lawyer in tow. New details have emerged regarding the timeline of the days following the attack, which until the conviction are still allegations. After the attack, Lauren stuck around nearby and waited until after the ambulance left. Then, according to surveillance, she got into a physical altercation with her fiancé. The two took the subway to their apartment, where Lauren began the process of deleting her entire social media presence. In the days following the attack, Lauren left New York to stay with her parents in Long Island and left her cell phone with an aunt. When officers first arrived at her parents' house in Long Island, her father refused to let officers in without a search warrant and said his daughter was not there, and she surrendered the next day. Lauren Pazienza is charged with manslaughter and is being held on a $500,000 cash bail or a $1 million bond. Bail was set high because the judge deemed Lauren a flight risk. She has had no previous criminal history. She comes from a very privileged background. According to a former friend, Lauren's a poster child for white privilege. She has never faced any consequences in her life. She was enabled by her parents who got her out of everything, but she called them stupid and basic. She is continuing to maintain her innocence and has not revealed what prompted the senseless attack on a stranger.
Pazienza's attorney continues to defend her character.
She's a law-abiding citizen who has got a college education, has had a job, she's engaged, she's got a beautiful family, she's never been in trouble in her life.
Dealing with the loss of their loved one, Barbara Gustern's family waits for answers.
I'd like to stress innocent until proven guilty. If she did do this, then I would like answers, but this woman deserves her day in court.
More to follow on this case. Panzienza still might be offered a plea bargain, but this could also go to trial. Let me know if you want more updates and what you think about this case. Tom Eugene Colucci called 911 on March 10th because he had concerns that the illicit substances he purchased from a stranger were not what they said they were. The 41-year-old Florida man asked the officers to send an unmarked vehicle to test his drugs. The Hernando County Sheriff's Office sent over deputies to provide the service requested. They arrived, spoke to Colucci for a few minutes, and then he produced 2 bags containing a white crystal-like substance and handed it over. Colucci seemed concerned with the fact that he felt that he had been scammed by his drug dealer, and he didn't want others to be scammed. He did not provide the deputies with the name or contact information for the dealer in question. The deputies conducted a field test on a sample of the substance and confirmed that both bags tested positive for methamphetamine. Colucci was placed under arrest for possession of methamphetamine and is being held on bond while he waits his court date. Police are issuing warnings after new TikTok trend went viral. The trend involves taking Orbeez, which are gel beads that expand in water, and putting them into airsoft guns and shooting them at people. Several teens have been arrested and charged with assault for injuring others. Law enforcement are asking parents to be aware of the Orbeez challenge and to discuss the dangers with their children. Orbeez are larger than BB gun pellets and roughly half the size of a marble. They can cause serious damage to people when shot from BB guns, paintball guns, or anything that turns these gel balls into projectiles. One group of teens had used Nerf guns and badly injured another teen's eye. TikTok is removing videos posted, but several videos have gone beyond TikTok and are being reposted onto other sites. Police Chief Brad Flynn has been dealing with several instances in Shelby, Alabama, and has said of the situation, "This is beyond stupid. This is dangerous. You could seriously hurt somebody by doing this type of stuff. We're just telling everybody to be smart. These social media challenges that cross the line like this have real-world ramifications." Well, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for everyone who commented on topics I wanted covered this month. Anyways, as always, please give this video a thumbs up if you like the content and subscribe for more if you haven't already. If you've done all that and want to support me and the channel, we have channel membership as well as Patreon to get early access, members-only content, and more. We also have merch and other goodies in the description box as well as links to all my socials. But until then, I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.